Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, brothers and sisters. How are you this morning? So, what a lovely day it is out there, or is it just me making this up? It's a little bit cloudy, but all I can see is a lot of beautiful sunshine out of my window here and some lovely flags there. We call them the EID flags, EID, Eid flags. So, we are also again thanking the council for putting these flags up. They have completely changed the skyline here from the studio. When you look out the window here, you see a beautiful skyline with the flags. Amazing what a green and a yellow and a white flag can do to Evington Road. So who is awake this morning? If anybody's awake, so connect me with the Facebook. Always my producer here has got a voucher or two to give to the first person who wakes up this morning. Of course, he likes to keep it a surprise. He doesn't want you all coming here, rushing him all at once for a voucher. So what he does, he doesn't let on as to which voucher he has got here ready for you at the studio, and likes to keep you in suspense and encourage you to come down here to the studio. Right there you are, Sultan Khan. He has qualified for the voucher. Sultan, you better come down here. Now my producer, if he hasn't got a voucher, he's going to sort one out. Salam's brother Zed and Mr. Producer. That's what they call him, Mr. Producer, because he wants to be anonymous. His name, he will not reveal. Of course, the voucher has been revealed to me. It's a brew voucher, Biscoff cookie dough. That is a lot of carbohydrates, Sultan, for you to recover from this Ramadan. That you will have lost some weight, some calories will be induced into your body and you will be coming alive again, Sultan. How do you feel about that, Sultan? I can just picture you sitting there in brew. The camera's on you. You are having your Biscoff cookie dough and the whole world is watching you. You're on the website and you're going to be loving that attention. Of course, Sultan, if you're up for it, if I was you, I'd just give that cookie dough to one of the younger members of your family, Sultan. Just do not indulge in that because you don't want to ruin your weight loss regime. So, Sultan, I don't want to put you under pressure, but you are now on the spotlight with this cookie dough voucher from Brew. So, what else has been going on in Leicester? Of course, very, very sad when the one parent, dad, is in intensive care right now. Had been involved in a hit and run near the Masjid Taqwa, you know where that is, on Harewood Street off the, what is it Uppingham Road? Yeah, off the Uppingham Road. And this is something very, very sad. So if anyone has news over that, then do let us know, because we'd like to know more about that particular story. This incident happened day before yesterday. You're listening to ZED on the Breakfast Show on Ramadan Special, EAVA 102.5 FM. Is anybody out there who can say that jingle better than me? Then bring it on. Let's have you here in the studio and we can see if you are good at saying that jingle. I'm going to make it easy for you. It's Ramadan Special, EAVA 102.5 FM. So bring it on and let's see how you get on with that. So this, somebody is calling us already. We'll take the call shortly. And of course, there is a lot of things going on in and around Leicester. There is going to be a speed camera, possibly. We call this the racetrack, the A6 racetrack. There was a driver, did a hit and run there at 113 miles per hour. So I don't think it was a hit and run. He was just doing that speed, and now they're calling out for cameras on that particular stretch of the road. So let's see what happens about that. Maybe there's enough cameras. Maybe you can tell me if there is more cameras required, or is there too many cameras on the road already. So this is some local news here for you. So don't ask me to tell you the national news as well, because you sort of, my program is very short today, because later on today we have the two midwives who are going to come here, join us in the show, and Sister Charmeen will take care of them. And they're going to be talking about home births. And this is going to happen in the next sector of the show. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
And how are you this morning, sister?
Alhamdulillah. Just to let you know,
Yes.
in the morning when I drop my son to work,
Yes.
It's really nice to hear your discussions.
Oh, really? Because I thought everybody's asleep.
No, no, no. It really wakes me up, and I enjoy all the discussions and everything going.
Oh, great. Now
I'm
you.
going to miss it in the morning because every morning I have to drop into work and it keeps me live and kicking.
All right, that's the whole intention, you know. So those are people who are listening on the FM, in the car, on the radio, to wake them
Yeah,
up, to energize them, you know, and to give them a little bit of oomph. Because when you're
yeah,
fasting, you know, your battery is very low.
yeah.
So we need to lift up that spirits, and we talk about, you know what, just for you is going to be a Strobella waffle pop. So your daughter is going to love that. One Strobella waffle pop from guess where? Guess where? Guess where it's from?
I didn't know.
It's from Brew!
Okay, yeah, brewer. How could I forget? I've been hearing you for the 30 days now.
30 days, yeah. It's so nice of them to give us these vouchers. So do come along and let
Yeah.
us have that. Let's put your daughter's name on it. What's your daughter's name?
My daughter's name is Maria.
Maria.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Maria, you're going to enjoy that. So when she comes
I'll
home,
send my son sometimes in the day to come. Well, tomorrow to come and pick it up.
what's your son's name? Because, you know, we need to do this with a lot of due diligence. We write his name down.
Yeah.
You can tell me his name and his height so we get it right. We don't give it to the wrong person.
No.
What's his name? What's your son's name?
Pardon?
What's your son's name? What's his name?
Arif.
Arif. Okay, we'll give it to Arif when he comes in the morning. So,
All right.
you
Okay
know,
then.
so if,
Thank you so much, and
okay,
thank you for all the discussions and everything. And it's keeping us all like aware of Leicester, what's happening.
mashallah, do you have any particular favorite show?
No, no, all of them are great.
Mashallah, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, I can't complain any of them.
MashaAllah, that is so nice to hear. You know, now you've charged my battery up. I'm going to be raring to go. Listen in. Don't go away. Just listen in. You're going to have a great show at 9:36 in the next section of the show where we have
Yeah, especially in the morning when I have to do my ironing and it's so boring. So I just listen to your discussions so it keeps get my ironing out of the way quickly.
Great, man. I'm just so happy that I've inspired people who are ironing out there in Leicester. You know, so all of those of you who are ironing, Zed's the man to make you happy. Now at
Thank you.
9:36, 9:36 we have two midwives coming. So when you go home, put the iron on and listen in to them. They're going to tell you some things
Inshallah.
about home births. Okay?
Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah.
Thank you for calling. Jazakallah khair. There you go, guys. This is Zed is now the ironing king of Leicester. That's my title now, the ironing king. Now, a lot of you'll have seen a poster about me. I'm seeking assistance from my lawyer now because somebody's defaming me and some defamation of my character is going on in Leicester. So all of you lawyers in Leicester who want to take this case on my behalf, and I'll pay you good money for that because I need to find a culprit who has done that. And if you have any information leading to the arrest of this person who started this WhatsApp poster about me, and it's going around Leicester everywhere, and I need you to report him to me immediately so we can take the appropriate action on that particular matter. So you see, guys, and here's me thinking everybody's sleeping during Ramadan, and this young lady's called me and she says she listens to me while she's ironing, and she has a good laugh and her battery is charged up. So there you go. So don't go thinking that people are only listening here on the Facebook, Sultan. You see, while you are listening to me on the Facebook, there are people listening to me while they are ironing, while they are washing their dishes, while they're doing the hoover. The phone is ringing again. So call us in on 0116-212-9324. Of course, you can tell us when you listen to us, what are you doing at that time, so we can start making a little bit of an Excel as to how many people listen while ironing, how many people listen while doing the hoover, how many people listen while sat in the office waiting for their tea break, and so on. Of course, talking about the tea breaks, during Ramadan, of course, we don't even think about tea break, but after Ramadan, of course, there's the tea break hogger in the office who always works a schedule around the tea break, and then there's 20 people in the office and one victim is always there who's going to go and make the tea. Who is that victim in your office? Come on, look around, let's have him up. Why are you victimizing one person to go out there and make the tea, right? And then also in the offices you have what we call the classic destroyer who always goes to the toilet on the boss's time. So it's 5 o'clock finish time and 4:45 they go to the toilet, right? Why? Because they want to go to the toilet on the boss's time. They don't want to go after 5 because that is going to be their time. There's people like that in your office as well. So look around your office and pinpoint the culprit. Let us have a list on Excel about all of these people who do this kind of thing in your office, so we can bring to attention to everybody in the office. So of course we have a lot of interesting programs going on today, and we still have a message here that you have not done anything about. The poster is up again. The wanted poster is up. We need to find the culprit who started this poster. So I'm going to enlist some help from Facebook. They will be able to tell me. Of course, I have to prove to them that this is a very, very bad defamation of character. So Facebook, they will cooperate with me, inshallah. Mark, if you're listening, please put the wheels in motion. We need to find out who put the first post up so they can backtrack and they can find out with their computer software who put the first post up. And then once that person is revealed, inshallah, before the end of the Ramadan, we have to bring him here in the studio, sit with him, ask him, why did you do this? Why did you do this? What tempted you to do something like that? You know, there's a lot of people in the community will be interested to know what was the reasoning behind it, and let's do all this together. So I want you all to join me to find this missing person, and we can move forward with that. Of course, all of you out there who are listening in right now at 9:36 after the first break, we're going to have a very interesting show. The sister Charmaine is going to interview 2 midwives, would you believe? Midwives, yes. We even have the midwives on Ramadan special on EAVA 102.5 FM. 2 midwives, they're going to come and talk to you about home births and how many people in this area are having a birth at hospital and how many of them are having a home birth, and how these midwives can make it so easy if you choose that to be your option. So these are all interesting things that happen in the community, and it's all about awareness. You know, if you're not aware of something, then you ain't going to know, and you're going to be living in darkness. Awareness is very, very important. So we all have to make an effort to keep ourselves aware of what is going on around you in your community. Sometimes the social media is not going to let you know about these kind of issues, because on social media you only get to know or hear about things that are trending, unless you of course are on some particular groups where you will get information. But other than that, the 3 hours a day a person spends on social media is a lot of time out of 3 hours. Imagine, out of 24 hours a day, 3 hours a day are spent on social media. Well, the influencer, they spend even more than 3 hours a day, because they need to keep checking if they have got one more follower following them. And every time they have one more follower, they get a buzz. Their heart is thumping away that, wow, I've got one more follower. I need more. They thrive on the number of followers they have, because they have power. They feel that, yes, I'm the boss. I'm the ruler of the world. And that is how the social influencer is thinking. Of course, I may be wrong. So if you're an influencer, then pick that phone up and call me on 0116 212 9324. Or you can text me on 07 450 925 084, and we can have a little chat with you and discuss with you. Of course, a lot of other interesting shows today. Ustada Rumesa will be here after the breakfast show, at 11 o'clock, we have Community Heroes with Rahima Cartela. Rahima Cartela. I love saying that name. Cartella, like it's a pizza. Italian pizza, Italiano pizza. So let's see if you can all say that as good as me. Rahima Cartella. So my producer is going to have a go as well now to say that. No? Of course, it is it's very important how you say that. And then Ustada Rumaisa, she's going to go through journey through the Holy Quran. She's going to go through that with you. And she's also extremely inspiring. And then you have the legend, the one and only, the one that the city of Leicester cannot do without, the legendary Maulana Khalil. Of course, I'm announcing him like he's coming into a boxing ring. But when you come here to this studio, it's like being in a boxing ring because you have facing you a 20-stone warrior. That is his weight. I don't know if it's true or not. Guess his weight. Whoever guesses it right is going to get a voucher. And he is the one who controls all the vouchers. He's like a dispensing machine. You know, he presses a button and a voucher comes out. So he's the one who does that. So thereafter, Salam Zed, blind, can you describe what the poster looks like? I am blind. Can you describe what the poster looks like? Say, okay, so now this poster, I'm going to tell you, it's got the Ramadan logo on the left-hand side, and then it's got a sign on it saying Most Wanted. And then they've put my picture on it. It's one of my old pictures, you know, when I was acting, and I was doing a little play somewhere out there, and somebody managed to grab that, and from the social media, of course, and they made a little poster out of it, and they wrote things about me, and that is what it looks like. So, of course, that was when I was dressed up practicing my Rastafarian accent, and somebody took a snap of that somewhere and it appeared on social media, and that's how this poster is all about. So if you're listening in, my brother, let me know your name, because I know that we have spoken once before on the previous years. So let me know your name so we can have a little chat. Of course, after that, we have today Maulana Khalil. He is going to come in after Jummah at 2 o'clock. And today is what we call Akhri Jummah, right? That is the last Jummah before the end of Ramadan. So Ramadan is Tuesday, it finishes. Eid will be Tuesday or Wednesday. Don't start that debate, please. Somebody's put that up on the screen. Is Eid on Tuesday or is it on Wednesday? How am I going to answer that? I'm not the authority on when Eid is. Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? I might just go and tell you Eid is Tuesday afternoon. Or what you're going to do? Because that would not be correct. Or Eid is on Wednesday afternoon. And you'll say, no, Eid is always in the morning, not in the afternoon. Because the Eid Salah is in the morning. So until we have confirmation, we refuse to say when is Eid because we don't know ourselves. So always it's a question that is asked regularly on the radio. Somebody will send a text in or somebody will send a telephone message in. So then, therefore, today we have the Children's Hour is been extended for 2 hours. Today is the last day of the Children's Hour, and I understand there's going to be a CD specialist. Is it? How do we describe him? He's making a lot of CDs at the moment, isn't it? Abdul Sattar is. Nasheed artist, Leicester's youngest premier Nasheed artist. A couple of years ago, Abdul Sattar came here on the radio and we launched him. We put him into orbit, didn't we? We did some wonderful Nasheeds. And I told Abdul Sattar, you are very good. So he's going to join us in the afternoon in the Children's Hour, 3 till 5 p.m. today. So that's going to be interesting. And then at 5 p.m. we have leading ladies. They will come here and tell us some of the good things that they're doing in the community. And then halal show, halal food. Abu Isa, he comes all the way from Birmingham. He's extremely passionate about halal food. He's going to come and talk to us. And Paul Allen will come and see us at 7 today from Spinney Hill Police Station. I'm going to complain to him about the crime on Evington Road, about the mad people on the road driving. I've got a list very long about complaints for Paul Allen. So Paul, you better be ready. So I'll see you again soon. We're going to have a little break now. Don't go away. We've got the midwife show starting straight after me. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are tuned into the Ramadan special on 102.5 FM. No, that's not music in the background. Our guest that we have in the studio today does need to have their phone on. They have to answer for work purposes. You okay? You're okay? You can go out and answer your phone call. You're okay? Okay, all right. So, no, I'm not Zed for a start. This is Sharmeen. I'm stepping in for Zed because the two guests that I have today are two amazing midwives who work here locally, who've come on air, who want to share with our community of listeners some interesting insight into home births, which I don't know anything about. It'll be very interesting to learn about that today, and about some research around fasting during Ramadan while you're pregnant. So, two really important topics. So I'm going to let both of them introduce themselves. So firstly, over to you, Lucy.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Lucy. I've been a midwife for 11 years, working for Leicester University Hospitals of Leicester Trust. I've worked in the hospital and I've worked for about 8 years in Evington area in various surgeries, and now work on the home birth team.
So this is definitely your local patch then.
Yes, yeah, this is... if it doesn't work out for me, I'm thinking of being a taxi driver around here because I know these roads well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Asma, welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum, listeners. My name is Asma. I'm also a midwife. I've been a midwife for about 8 years. I've worked in the hospital. I've worked at a birthing centre in Melton Mowbray, and I now work in the community and I do research.
Research, yes, I love research. We talked about research on one of my shows, on my Wednesday show, actually. Had a researcher from Leicester University on to discuss what is research. But we are going to focus firstly on home birth. And I just want to remind listeners, if they are, well, they hopefully are tuned in if they can hear us anyway. But if you are tuned in today and you do want to join the discussion, you've got a question related to maternity, these ladies are here. You can't give specific advice on your personal case, but just general advice. You are free to call in, and the number is 0116 212 9324. That's 0116 212 9324. And you can also text in as well. And the text number I'll be announcing a little bit shortly. There we go. It's up on the screen now. I can't remember these numbers. This is why we have mobile phones where we can store numbers all the time now. Don't need to remember them anymore. It's 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. Do feel free to text in your questions and call in if you want to. You can remain totally anonymous as well. Don't have to read your name out. So do feel free to come on and ask this question, because you never know, your question might help someone else out there who's not a bit shy to ask it. So firstly, I'm going to start with you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Not with you, but with the topic of home birth. I'm intrigued to know more. I have to say, both of my deliveries were in hospital. It wasn't by choice, actually. First one was emergency, and second one I was told I had to have an operation, sadly. So I never had the chance to have a natural delivery. But home births, that is a little bit dubious about that. Can you explain a bit more about it? We'd love to know more about it.
Well, for a start, we're a fantastic team at Leicester. We're very good hospital, and women do receive very good care. And for some women, being in hospital is absolutely the safest place to be. So your example, that was the safest place for you to be at the time, with doctors, baby doctors around or whatever. However, it's all about choice, and what we want to do is be offering women choice of where they have their babies. And we've always done home birth, but maybe it's been a bit more ad hoc if there's staff around or whatever. But since September 2017, we started up a home birth team that is dedicated just to women having home births. So once you sign up for that, we do all your care at home. So all your appointments, you don't have to go to the GP surgery anymore. You don't have to wake up toddlers in the middle of their nap to get to the surgery.
So you come home
we come to your home while you're pregnant, and we're still keeping to the same schedule that the midwives would in the surgery. So still seeing at certain intervals in the pregnancy, but because it's more relaxed, I think we found women open up more. They talk about their fears, their anxieties, and then we give them ways to prepare for the birth and everything. We get to know their families, and it's more of a family affair then, really, isn't it? And And then when the birth does happen, we give them a number. So I'm really sorry if my phone goes off. It's because I have to run to a birth. So a bit of
That's
drama
okay.
for you.
Yeah, that's just to, if you just tuned in at the very beginning, you would have heard the
Yeah, I
phone
might
go
have
off.
to sort that out in a minute.
It's okay. We understand. We are very grateful to have you in the studio to give your time to inform people about this. Because
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine who did go through home birth.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about how she had a pool and I don't know, all
Yes.
sorts going on in her house. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What's all this about?
So, I mean, that's something that we offer. So we know women who have home births are more likely to have a normal birth without intervention, without forceps, 1-2 cesarean. They're more likely to feel relaxed and in control, because if you think about going into hospital, even to have a baby can be quite stressful. So that anxiety.
I don't like going to hospital.
No, I don't think many
any
people
reason,
do. And
yeah.
for lots of women, it's the first time they ever go to hospital. They've never been sick in their life. So to go to hospital is a big deal. And consequently, you get rise in stress hormones, and that can slow down labour. So we know by being at home, there's more of the oxytocin, that love hormone, that birth hormone that means that women give birth as they're meant to, rather than running into a place where it's stressful, there's bright lights, there's doctors running around. We know...
And dignity as well.
Yeah.
When you're talking to me now, I'm struck by there's a certain dignity about being able to give birth in your own home, in your own environment, without having... I mean, no offence, but without having random medical students walking at you every second of the day.
Yeah.
Random times.
I mean, that's a definite bonus as well. So we are a women-only team, so all the midwives are women. You can have male midwives, but we don't at the team. So, I mean, maybe... particularly in this area as well for Muslim women, I know that's a big thing, and people often ask just to have female attendants, and we can't guarantee that in the NHS in hospital because it isn't a private service, but we can for a home birth.
And for quality reasons as well, and diversity as well. That's one of the other things. But that's very interesting. I never thought of it from that perspective.
Yeah.
So there is a women-only team who can come out. So I'm just trying to recap here.
Yeah.
Women-only team who come out, but you come out before, so it's not like it's something you're doing blind. You are you're well informed about the decision. Now, let's say, for example, I have somebody who I thought about doing home birth, and it was but then I changed my mind. Can I change my mind?
Absolutely fine. And again, that's about choice, isn't it? What we're aiming for at the minute, a study came out very recently called Better Births, and they've asked lots of women about what do they want from their birth and their pregnancy, and people have just talked again and again and again about continuity. They want to know their midwives, they want to know what's going to happen, and that's what we're trying to provide. So we introduce women to a team of midwives, so maybe 5 or 6 in an area in Leicester and Leicestershire, and they get to know that team, and then hopefully on the big day, when we don't know exactly when that is going to be, they're going to know at least one of the midwives that come to them. They always get 2 midwives, so it's a very good service. We bring pain relief with us. You can have a pool at home. I think you talked about that before.
The pool sounds very
lend out
interesting.
Pools, yes.
But it's not just a pool. You wouldn't necessarily have to have it. There are other ways.
Yes.
I suppose this is the other thing as well. How many different kind of ways are there to give birth at home? Pool is one.
Yeah. So I guess the only thing we're not offering in the home birth environment is an epidural. We can't do epidurals at home, but we bring gas and air, so that's an option.
Gas and air is good. I speak from experience on this.
You liked that.
Well, they tried to... this is how bad... This is placebo effect now. So basically, my twins came 2 months early into the world, and they were supposed to... come out. They were there ready to come out, and they decided to turn around and have a party, and I had to go. Yes, so I had to go in for an emergency C-section, and I remember the birthing bay was, you had to walk down this corridor. It seemed to be like a mile long. I'm sure it wasn't a mile long, and they said you can't have the gas. And what do you mean you can't have the gas? So, but you can take the mask and you can suck on, and I actually started sucking this mask. I know it had nothing in there,
but it works for you.
I thought, I was convincing myself the placebo effect is going to work here. It's going to work.
But I think there's a lot about that. A lot of why women struggle with pain is because they feel out of control. So imagine going into a hospital where people are telling you lots of things and it's scary, and a doctor's saying do this and a midwife saying do that. Whereas at home, you're a lot more in control.
Queen of your own castle at home.
Yeah, and just by being at home, again, research says that women need less pain relief at home because they are relaxed.
And it strikes me when you're talking about this also that if you are at home, post-birth, you're going to be at home.
Yep. No waiting around for paperwork.
No waiting around for anybody, really. Because that's
No.
one of the things I felt really lonely post-birth. And you
Right.
kind of wait. You'd be waiting there. Obviously, my situation was different in that I had to have the medicine. It had to be in longer post-birth. But it was that waiting for someone to come and not having that support, feeling very, very lonely.
And very vulnerable, I think,
very
as well,
vulnerable. I
with a
felt
new
very
baby
vulnerable.
or two.
I didn't actually see them for 48 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of apparently the whole extended family saw them. Bless.
Oh,
Before me. Never mind. Sore point. Moving on before I get told off. The thing is that that's an interesting point as well. That you are in your own home after delivery straight away. You have the comfort of your own things.
Yeah.
You know, your own clothes. You're not having to pack that.
Your own toilet, your
One
own
tip I
bed.
will give as an absolute side point: if you are pregnant, do pack your maternity bag in advance. I mean, that's one tip somebody gave me. I didn't listen. I wish they had.
You were early though, weren't
Yeah,
you?
I was unreasonably early. But it is worth doing and being aware of. Just a small tip for me, mum to
Yeah.
expecting mothers.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits actually to
Yep.
this home birth, and I'd never thought of that. If you are interested, you're thinking about this, and you have questions that I've not asked, they're sitting there in your head. Do feel free to give us a call today on 0116 212 9324. That's 0116 212 9324. Alternatively, you can text in. The number to text in is 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. You are tuned into the Ramadan special here on EAVA FM 102.5 FM. We're also broadcasting on www.ramadan.fm, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and on Twitter. So you can certainly join in the conversation on Facebook if you want to share a comment on there, or text in or call in. In the studio today, I am joined by Lucy and Asma from the midwifery team here in Leicester, and we've been talking so far about home birth, and we will inshallah also be talking about some research that Asma's been doing on fasting, pregnancy, and keeping healthy. So just to round off some sort of points about the home birth, are there any key sort of take-home messages that you want the listeners out there to sort of think about?
So I think probably one thing, or one of the main things why people have an objection to home birth, or lots of people's family would say don't do it because it's not safe, and people talk quite a lot about that. But then we did a massive study in 2011. It was a national study called the Birthplace Cohort Study, where 65,000 women were interviewed, low-risk women, about home birth, and the outcomes came out that said home birth is as safe as hospital birth for women who've had a baby before.
That's interesting.
Which is amazing, isn't it? Women who've had a baby before were more likely to have a normal birth at home with reduced rates of section, instrumental delivery, and episiotomy. But that doesn't mean first-time mums can't have babies at home as well, because it's still very safe for them. There's a tiny, tiny increase in risk for baby from, if you had a baby in hospital, 5.3 per 1,000 births. There was some problems with baby. At home, that goes up to 9.3. So still massively safe.
Now, this is one question, one thing that's come through. I would love to have had this... from one of our listeners who's texted in, I would love to have had a home birth. Unfortunately, due to giving birth to a poorly baby, that wasn't possible.
I think that goes on the whole thing of emergencies. People think emergencies happen very quickly, and they can, but there's often a lot of warning signs that lead up to that. So as midwives, we're specialised in looking for those tiny deviations from the norm where we're starting to think, things aren't quite right now, and we're adding them up together, and at some point we say for women, maybe this isn't safe anymore at home, and we would always transfer in as quick as we could via an ambulance. But for women who are nice and low risk, this is often one of the safest places to be, and there's so many benefits. So
I'm going to come back to you, Lucy. I want to just bring in Asma now.
yeah,
She's been
I
sitting
could
there
talk for a long time.
quietly in the corner.
Sorry.
Well, I can as well. We need to bring Asma in. She's sitting there quietly in the corner. We need to bring her in now. She's been introduced to the radio studio concept now. Asma, firstly, assalamu alaikum, welcome to the show. You have been doing some research around fasting during pregnancy, which is quite interesting. And would you like to tell us a little bit more about the research that you've been doing?
Yes, of course. So 5 years ago, I came back from maternity leave, and I don't know, all of a sudden, I had lots of women asking me questions about fasting in pregnancy and whether it was safe, whether I thought it was a good idea, what I think they should eat. And to be honest, it's not something we're taught in our training. It's not something that I knew the research evidence about, and as midwives we would only give you advice based on research evidence.
Absolutely.
Yet the women in my care still expected me as a Muslim midwife to be able to answer their questions, and they were quite disappointed that I couldn't.
Oh, bless you.
So and that made me feel really frustrated because I wanted to help them and I couldn't, and actually it made me think, why haven't I considered this before, being a Muslim myself? So that's sort of where the journey began. So I've been doing research on this for the past 5 years, and inshallah will continue to do so. I started off just gathering the evidence, really, and
systematic review what was already out there.
Like a literature review, and to my surprise, there wasn't much research out there.
That's very interesting.
And the research that was out there, it was mainly done in non-Western societies, and it was done on very small samples, quite poorly designed research, so it's quite hard to base your conclusions on that sort of thing. However, since then, 5 years on, we've progressed. We've got 2 systematic reviews that show that there is no clear evidence that fasting in pregnancy causes harm to the mother or baby in healthy pregnant women. And I really want to stress healthy, because healthy means that you are well nourished and that you are well hydrated in the non-fasting hours. So for women that have, for instance, blood pressure problems, women that are anemic, women that have diabetes, or if their babies are small, that evidence doesn't apply to them. So this is simply for healthy pregnant women. And as a midwife, I was quite surprised, because I thought, well, all those hours of not eating or drinking, surely it's got to be harmful.
Well, you would think logically that would have a harm. Only because, you hear stories, you hear the family members who like dropping a pound a day in weight and, all this kind of stuff. And the other thing which strikes me is dehydration. You would think that if you're not drinking, particularly for the long fasts, that you would become dehydrated. Yeah. And that in turn, because water is one of the most essential elements when we're talking about life and building blocks of life, that would affect the unborn child.
Absolutely. So, I mean, like I said, this evidence is only if you are eating and drinking well. And this year, sadly, I have come across a few patients where, because as part of midwifery care, we test their blood pressure and urine every time they come to see us. And I have picked up on a few urine samples that their body is really burning the body fat, because it's, the body's dehydrated and has nothing else to feed off. And the most interesting thing is that those women don't tell me that they're fasting. I have to then ask them and prompt them and say, well, are you fasting today? And that's when they say yes. And I say, perhaps it's not a good idea.
Well, I think this is an important point that we sort of spoke about just earlier. If you are fasting, and just generally, actually, I think this is one of those things we worry if we tell the medical professional, not just midwives, but generally, if we tell medical professionals, well, we're fasting. Well, actually, if you've been fasting and you've fallen unwell as a result of the fasting, the doctor or the midwife, they need to know, because that will affect the care plan they give you. And that is really an important message that you need to take home today, I think, for listeners.
So further on from the evidence, I did a master's and I did some interviews with Muslim women in our local area who I'm very grateful for taking part. And I found something really striking, because what I was looking for really is how they make those decisions to fast, because what I know is that women will fast. They won't tell the midwives. They'll do it anyway. But I wanted to know what sort of goes on in that process. And what I found is that when women don't fast, they report feeling guilty. They report feeling a loss of identity from the community. They feel segregated. They feel like the world is doing something and they are doing something completely different. And I think that has already come out from research that has been done internationally too. So it's interesting that women worldwide feel like this. And that goes to show how significant fasting is for Muslim women who are pregnant.
generally actually. Just want to remind listeners, if you are tuned in, this is the Ramadan special on EVA 102.5 FM. I'm very welcome to have in the studio today two midwives from the locality who we've been talking about home birth, and also now talking about some research that has been done on fasting during pregnancy, and very interesting findings there. I just wanted to pick up on your last point there, Asma, about this guilt. It's something that I spoke with Sister Sephora from the Lantern Initiative about this in one of the earlier shows. There is this guilt that people feel, and it's interesting that that's also been something found amongst pregnant Muslim women, because obviously there is an expiation not to fast for pregnant Muslim women, but there's still that feeling of guilt that you're not part of the community, you're disengaged. And also, I know we're coming to the end of Ramadan, and it'd be very interesting to reflect on what I sort of spoke a bit about yesterday, was the post-Ramadan blues, that this sense of loneliness which might continue after Ramadan, particularly for ladies who are pregnant, who are carrying, they've got hormonal, let's be honest, there are hormones going on, yeah? We'll be honest, there are hormones involved. We'll admit this, yeah? Doesn't make us any less intelligent, but there are hormones involved, and how that might affect people. So that, if you've got any thoughts on that, I'd be quite interested to know.
And then the other thing that I found in terms of decision making is that for Muslim women, they're torn between these three identities. So there's the good Muslim identity, there's the good mother identity, and then there's the good wife identity. So they were the three themes. So for instance, the good Muslim is going to want to fast and do what the religion says. The good mother is going to try and do what's best for the baby, and that might be shaped by what society's expectations of a good mother is. And then you've got the good wife who wants to try and fulfill her husband's wishes. And women feel really torn between these three identities, and that makes the decision making extremely difficult. And I think not being able to approach your midwife makes that even more difficult, because they would like to speak to the midwives, but then they have perhaps preconceptions that the midwife might not be able to help them, or perhaps they may feel that midwives are acting in a potentially judgmental way, which affects the midwife-woman relationship. So that's sort of my next step of research, where I want to bridge that gap. I want to be able to make midwives feel confident to provide adequate support and advice to pregnant Muslim women who want to fast. And also I want to be able to empower Muslim women to approach their midwives and ask them for the advice and not feel as though the midwives won't understand them. So inshallah, for my PhD, that's something that I'm hoping to develop.
Wow, mashallah, you got plans, sister. And brilliant plans at that. I just want to do a quick recap before we get to the break. We're shortly going to an ad break. And just want to recap on what we've been talking about today. We're talking about home births. Very interesting discussion with Lucy about what home births are, and we will go into a bit more depth of that after the break. We would love to hear from you, so do text in with your questions. The number to text in on is 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. And you are welcome to call in as well into the studio. The number to call in is 0116 212 9324. That's 0116 212 9324. We are also streaming on the Facebook Live. Feel free to comment on the Facebook Live. We will, as I said, if you don't want to you want to remain anonymous, you can quite happily remain anonymous. But if you have any burning questions about your pregnancy, fasting during pregnancy, or anything else related to maternity, feel free to text in. Okay, stay tuned. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are tuned in to the Ramadan special here on EAVA 102.5 FM. We are in the studio today with some midwives from the midwifery team here in Leicester, and we've been talking today about home births and about new research around fasting while pregnant. And it's been very, very interesting so far. If you are joining us and you would like to ask any questions to our guests today, you can call in. The number to call in is 0116 212 9324. 0116 212 9324. Or you can text in on 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. I know normally you expect to see Brother Zed here, but remember there's a brew voucher available for anyone who can find Brother Zed. So if you see him out and about, catch hold of him and you get yourself a brew voucher. Now, back to more serious topics. Very interesting discussion before the break about home birth, and your research, Asma, that you're doing is phenomenal and groundbreaking, quite literally. I was very, very impressed by that.
Exactly.
Now, so we're going to go back to some sort of questions that came up while we were chatting during the break around home birth. And you mentioned this term, and I know in the NHS you guys love your acronyms, don't you?
Yeah.
Everything has to be broken down into letters.
Yeah.
BBA.
Okay.
What's BBA? It's not basketball related. That sort of reminds me of basketball.
No.
No.
So this stands for birth before arrival of an attendant. So the arrival of the midwife. So this is women who have babies at home by accident, or in their cars en route to the hospital, or in the car park.
Listen, I'm going to have to ask you to explain something.
Yeah.
How can you have a baby by accident?
Well, some babies just come super quick. Some women think, oh, maybe it's too soon, maybe this isn't strong enough labour, or maybe they call up the hospital and, you know, the midwives advise them maybe it is too soon to come in. But some births do go very quickly, and we don't always know that's going to happen. And some women may leave it a little bit late to get in the car. And so the point of coming today, one of the points as well, is that in the city area where I know lots of your listeners will be, this is one of the highest areas of these BBAs, these births without anybody actually getting there. And that could be really traumatic for a woman to give birth at home, not knowing what to do, and you know, having to call an ambulance. Well. Exactly. And think of your carpets, you know. So
I don't want to think of the carpets, no.
We had a look at our statistics actually over the first year that we did the team, and over the year we had 106 births when nobody got there, or the woman didn't get to hospital in time, and an ambulance was called. And in the city, it was 28% of those was just in the city. So that's massive, isn't it? Yeah. And then if we look at the areas where the main BBAs are, these are the areas where people aren't uptaking home births. So particularly in this inner city area, LE2, LE5, LE4. So really we're, I guess, trying to reach out to you and say home birth is available to anyone who are nice and low risk. And you don't have to have anything special at home. You don't need a big birthing suite or anything, or lots of room. You just need a room that people can get by, and it would be safe. What's this comment come up?
It's a lovely comment. This is a wonderful thing about live radio.
Yeah.
And thank you for any listeners who are actually texting in and contributing to the show. It's always nice to know people, A, are listening, and B, are wanting to interact.
Understand,
I love that,
yeah.
you know. So, comment. This is not me commenting. This is someone who's texting. I nearly had my daughter in the car. Just about got into Leicester General, and she was born spontaneously. Best birth I had. Wow.
So that lady, she did not need a hospital. She did not need a whole room of doctors and a specialist room. You know, she would have been much better to not have to do that horrible journey in the car and to have signed up for a home birth, and we could have come to her. So I think where people say, oh, it's not safe, we've already talked about the evidence says for most low-risk women, it's very safe. But it isn't safe to deliver in a car with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So much better to sign up for us and let us ease some of those anxieties. Exactly, be prepared. Yeah, have some stuff ready.
And it just also, one of the things obviously is if you are going around, if you have left it it's not even that you've left it. You may unexpectedly
Yeah.
find yourself in this position.
Yeah, I don't think anyone
this
plans
is-
to do it
No, I don't think anyone does.
in a car.
Well, yes. Well, and this is the interesting point here is that one of the things you're touching on there is how quickly and how unexpectedly you could find yourself in that position.
Especially if you've had a very quick baby before. So that lady who just messaged in, her next baby definitely have a home birth because she did not need a medical team, did she?
Well, I think she did, sadly, because looking at the previous message, she had a
Was this the
given
same
birth,
lady?
to a poorly baby. So in that case, it wasn't possible. So in this case,
Yeah.
that might not be the case. But nevertheless, it's definitely something to consider, being well aware of the situation at hand.
Yeah.
And having all the information around to
Having
make that
numbers
decision.
to call so you know somebody's going to come straight away as well and
Yeah.
it's going to listen to you seriously as well.
No,
I just wanted to say,
ahead,
sorry to
Asma.
interrupt.
No, you're part of this conversation. There's no
I just wanted to
interruptions.
say that a lot of people and a lot of the questions that I get in my clinic come from the husbands actually or other family members that attend, and they say, well, what if something goes wrong? And I think it's really important that we address that today and just explain that we are trained to look out for if there are any complications, and if you plan to have a home birth, we're there with you all the time, and if we suspect even a tiny issue, we will transfer you into the hospital straight away, so you're not having to
And
be
it's
in
always
that
done
situation.
via ambulance as well. It's as
Yeah.
a priority call. So, I mean, especially living in the city area, you could be there in no time at all, couldn't you? And like I said before, we don't wait for absolute emergencies. We're picking up on those early signs and transferring way before there is an emergency.
And we were speaking in the break about some of the barriers. And again, lovely text in. Oh, I wish I had did sign up for a home birth, and she was a super baby and still is, and I hope she's blessed, very much blessed, this baby, and grows up to be amazing, like Asma and doing this research, and Lucy doing some service to the community. Right, so we were thinking about some of the barriers to home births, and we had an interesting discussion while the ads were on. And it'd be interesting to hear from our listeners as well. So if you do have that kind of question around what home birth is and anything, no question, I'll say this, no question is silly. We all need to learn. Sometimes
Yeah.
people think, oh, maybe they've already, even if we've talked about it before, we're quite happy to mention again. The number to text in is 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. One of the questions that came up was about mess. Asma, I think you mentioned mess.
Yeah.
Does it get messy having a kid at home? Obviously, if you
A
have
birth
kids
at
at home,
home.
yes. If you've got kids at home, it's messy already. Having a birth at home, what's the
Yeah.
practicalities around that?
So we're recommending to women, anybody who signs up, we're preparing them. So a couple of things to prepare, things like maybe like a couple of shower curtains, a couple of old sheets. And then at the end of the birth and everything's out, everybody's safe, we take that all away with us. It all gets incinerated as clinical waste. So seriously, we tidy up probably more than when we arrived. We try and leave everything in a really lovely condition. So there's definitely no mess.
The only thing that strikes me about that particular thing is just coming to mind. When we think about hospitals, and I wonder whether the culture of going to hospital, having babies, was part of that culture came about because this idea the hospitals are a sterile, clean environment,
Yeah.
whereas at home, it's
Yeah.
not a sterile, clean
However,
environment.
it's
How
our
does
own
that work?
bacteria, isn't it? And we know actually we're immune to our own bacteria, the stuff that's around us all the time. And in hospital, with the best cleaned hospital, there are hospital-acquired infections. There are more chances of infections for baby and for mum. Whereas in your own environment, it doesn't need to be sterile. We're not operating. We're not opening anybody up. This is a baby is going to be born into a family home where it's going to live. If this house is very, very dirty, should we be having a baby there? But, it just needs to be your normal house. We don't need anything special. Somebody asked about how much space do you need. If you want a pool, our pools are about 1.65 metres across. And so if you think about that, it's not massive. We just need areas to be able to get around mum as well if there were any emergencies. So not too cluttered a room and enough room to get out the house in emergency, but really nothing special. Anybody can have one.
Is there any cost involved? This is another question that came up.
So we're going to bring all medical stuff with us. The only bits of cost might be, so example, like I said, a plastic ground sheet or something. If you wanted to borrow a pool, you can privately hire a pool, but we also lend them out for a donation. But we ask the women to buy a liner, like a clean liner to go over the pool, and a hose pipe, and that comes up to about £40, but that's much cheaper than hiring the whole pool themselves.
And that's only if they
wanted a pool.
You don't have to have the
absolutely
pool.
not. We also lend out TENS machines, which is great for pain relief as well, but otherwise everything else comes with us,
Including the gas.
including the gas. You don't pay for that.
No, just making sure.
Yeah.
Making sure. But what we did touch on is you don't get the epidural.
We don't do epidurals, no.
Which is okay, 'cause
You need to be in
epidurals,
hospital for that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Complications. If there is a complication as part of the home birth, this is
Yeah.
something might be thinking, well, you
Yeah.
can't be being in hospital because if something happens, you're there already.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, I think we've sort of touched on that, you have two midwives who are, their focus is you having a baby, whereas, in hospital, delivery suites get busy, 2 pairs of eyes on you picking up those early signs, and we transfer via ambulance very quickly if there are any complications before they get to be an emergency.
The thing is, you've got professionals in there with you
Yeah.
who are able to
Yeah.
know and detect even the earliest warning signs that something is
Absolutely.
going wrong. I think this is the
Yeah.
other point to stress.
Yeah, we're specialists in low risk, so anything that deviates from the norm, then we're thinking of, do we need a doctor? We're not all gung-ho, we're not going home birth at all costs, the cost to the mother or baby. We're not that proud, we don't want any bad situations on our PIN number either, so we're protecting mums, we're protecting babies, we're protecting ourselves as a profession as well.
We've got a question that's come in, which is more directed, I think, at us, Asma. Islamic guidance says that women who are pregnant and women who are breastfeeding can postpone fasting. So why is there this guilt attached to not fasting during these times? Maybe we women don't have enough knowledge of these important rulings that affect us and our babies.
I think that's a really interesting question. So thank you for the listener that posted this. You're absolutely right. In terms of why is there this guilt attached, you'd like to think that. However, I do want to point out that we do have different beliefs. It is subjective in the sense that some people and some communities think that fasting is compulsory if you are fine as a pregnant woman. Some people think that it's an option, and some people think, well, it's only optional if there is something wrong. So for instance, if there are risks attached to the mum or the baby. So I think it all depends on people's beliefs. I can say from my own experience that this year, alhamdulillah, I'm expecting my second child,
Sure.
and because of health reasons, I haven't been able to fast, although I did attempt. And I wouldn't say there was a guilt as such, but it just didn't quite feel the same. And when I was eating, although I knew that Allah has made it really easy for me as a Muslim, to opt out because of health reasons, you do still want to take part in the fasting because I've done it all of my life. So I think there's that, but I mean, I can't say that's the reason for everyone. And that was just a small piece of finding that I found from my research. But yes, it does depend on people's beliefs, and everybody will have different interpretations of Islam.
There is a mental health component to this as well, I think, of which we kind of perhaps brush aside a little bit. There is this immense sense of guilt, and whether it's to do with pregnancy, you have expression of someone perhaps who has another illness which might prevent them from fasting. So you have this thing that, well, I want to be. It's one of the pillars of Islam. Let's not forget this. So people have this emotional investment that if they feel that they're missing out on one of the pillars of Islam, and if you put it in that perspective, it's kind of huge. And there's a very beautiful story that came through one of these social media stories about this old gentleman who used to go to the mosque. He's no longer able to fast, but he'd still go for the iftar, to be there for the sense of community. And this young man comes, oh, old man, why are you here? You're not even fasting. And it's a really sad story that could happen. But the truth is that we need to be a bit less judgmental about it. There's certainly that. And we need to be less judgmental towards our own selves, because when there is expiation, and also be aware that this is something that exists. There is this guilt. We don't talk about it. We should be talking about it, we should be exploring it. And alhamdulillah, we've been able to explore it quite a bit on the radio this year. But it's an interesting, and I think this is something you're going to be researching further on, Asma, isn't it?
I mean, the thing is with my research, the reason why I'm doing it and why it matters is because it's really about Muslim women getting equal care as everyone else, because according to the literature, it appears that Muslim women report poor perceptions of maternity care. And so my interest is in supporting them to build a trusting relationship with the midwife and to discuss these sensitive matters. And also for the midwives to realize that there's a lot more than is she fasting or is she not? You know, what's going on in her social context? What's going on in the background? Who are the people that are sort of perhaps influencing those decisions? And how can we all work together to not make the woman feel so guilty, for instance, or make her feel like stressed and
anxious,
pulled between what she should and shouldn't do. So that's really what my interest and research is about.
That's fascinating. I need to know more about this. I'm definitely have to catch up after the show. Just if you have tuned in, just a quick reminder, this is the Ramadan special on EAVA 102.5 FM. If you do want to join the conversation today with our midwives who are in the studio with me, Lucy and Asma, you are more than welcome. The number to call in is 0116 212 9324. That's 0116 212 9324. Alternatively, you can drop us in a text on 07450 925 084. That's 07450 925 084. And if you have just tuned in and wondering where Brother Zed is, so are we, and there's a brew voucher in it for you as well. I don't normally not normally here, it's normally Brother Zed's show, but I'm stepping in because this is we're talking about maternal things, and he said perhaps I might be better suited to sitting in on this one. And I think we've managed to cover quite a lot in the show so far around home birth and about staying healthy. But one of the things that strikes me, Asma, you mentioned earlier about the research showing that if you are healthy and you fast, there's no effect to the baby. But that judgment about what is healthy, how do you make that judgment?
That again is a really, really important question, and it's something that I want to explore going further. From the community that I come from, usually iftar consists of a lot of fried foods, unfortunately, and symbolic food.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Ramadan is not Ramadan without samosas having to be there.
It's funny you say that, because that's exactly what one of the women in my research study said, that exact same. It's not the same without samosas. And I think it's quite hard to stay away from those foods because they're symbolically associated with Ramadan. But I think what we can do is be a bit more sensible about it. So perhaps fill your meals with more nutritious foods, and then if you really, really want to have one and you can't stop yourself, leave the samosa till last, by which point your belly might be full, and then you might think, actually, I don't think I have space to have it, instead of just going for the fried foods first.
So what types of food are we talking about, which are good, healthy foods for fasting women?
So it's foods that contain lots of protein, complex carbohydrates. We're talking about things that contain like vitamins and nutrients in it. So, for instance, it could be brown rice with perhaps a chicken curry that doesn't contain a lot of oil in it, for instance. It could be a salad. It could be fish that's grilled, anything really. So the normal things that you would have, but not fried and not so full of fats and sugars. And also another thing is perhaps not have a dessert every single day. I know that in some cultures they tend to make a pudding every single day. And so it's thinking about the alternative. So what can you have instead? Perhaps some dried fruits.
One thing that sort of comes to mind as well is in pregnancy sometimes women do suffer from acidity. So obviously having this samosa would not help with the acidity. But what other alternatives? I mean, we've talked about brown rice. I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't eat brown rice personally. But just having other complex carbohydrates. So we're talking maybe a porridge would be a good alternative.
Yeah.
And
barley.
Barley that's actually one of the prophetic recommendations is barley. We don't tend to eat that a lot, but it is very It's very nice.
Unfortunately, I can't give you a lot of suggestions because I'm not a dietitian. But inshallah, going forward for the PhD, I want to work with women, dietitians, midwives, and other members of the community, like their family members, so that we can design something that's realistic and practical to achieve. For instance, you just mentioned that you wouldn't eat brown rice. It's something that I would think I probably would have. But
I wouldn't personally. I don't know.
So-
I've never liked brown rice. But there you go. I
Yeah.
think that's very interesting.
So it's interesting. I think we've got to work together, and that's the whole point. We've got to work together to understand what's fit for their needs, for women's needs.
Absolutely. And putting something together constructive, because if we're talking about like a meal plan, which then if there are midwives out there from the wider community who are not Muslims, who are dealing with Muslims within their care, they have some sort of plan to work with and say, actually, these are the recommendations.
I think it's like you said, well, how do you know if you're healthy? I think what Asma's talking about is wanting to open up conversation and making things easier for a pregnant woman to talk to her midwife, and that should be anybody, any religion, shouldn't it? We should be making that easier. So to be able to say to the midwife, I'd really like to fast. Do you think I'm healthy enough to do that? Any midwife would love to answer that for them and be able to tell them, well, maybe this would be a bit risky, or of course you're fine to do that.
It's ultimately about women's choice. So I don't want women to feel like I don't want to tell my midwife because she's going to advise me against it. It's ultimately their choice. We just want to help them to do it in the safest way possible. And so that's why we encourage this dialogue between the midwife and the woman.
And the midwife, okay, so let's say I'm somebody running out of time now, but there's one sort of question I had in mind. If I'm thinking about fasting and I'm pregnant, I can talk to my midwife. Would they help me assess whether I'm going to be healthy enough to fast?
Yes, so they should help you with that. However, I do want to point out that at the moment, midwives lack knowledge about Ramadan fasting, about the practice of fasting. So your midwife might not be able to answer those questions. That doesn't mean you can't ask her. But it's something that my research is hoping to develop. So, I want to be able to educate midwives internationally and nationally about how to do it in the most safest way.
But they'd definitely be able to say if you were a healthy pregnant woman, wouldn't they, rather than somebody who's got high risk problems.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even without that knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's better to ask the midwife than seek information from informal sources.
Yeah.
Dr. Google.
Yes, no, we don't like that.
Now, we do have the contact details for your home birth service, Lucy. And
so anybody who's interested, they can ask their own midwife at the surgery and they can do you a referral. This can happen any time in your pregnancy. We like you to do a first booking with a midwife and maybe go back for your blood results. But any time after that, we can be referred to us, or you can call us directly. Our number is 0116 258 3425 and leave a message on our answer phone. But also we're on Facebook, Instagram. There's loads of really great stories on there. Or if you look at our University Hospitals of Leicester maternity services, there's links on our general webpage as well.
brilliant. I just want to thank you both, Asma and Lucy, for coming into the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's been a pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
learned
And thank
so
you for
much.
the listeners who have been asking us questions
Yeah.
as well.
Absolutely. I think, and hopefully it's opened up some discussion amongst our listeners. We do have a group at the Community Hub. We'll be putting details of that up as well, inshallah. And I'd love for you guys to join the Community Hub so we can have that continual interaction, people be able to ask questions. Often you think of questions long after.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So I'm going to sign off. This was Brother Zed show without Brother Zed in the second half. My name's Sharmeen, and yes, that's the phone, not my phone, but Lucy's phone, because she's a busy lady helping women who are dealing with pregnancy out there. So thanks again for joining. Stay tuned to the Ramadan special here on EAVA 102.5 FM. We've got a lot lined up for you today, the last few days of Ramadan. Do remember all of us in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum.